Unit, salute, amped up, Wednesday, January 15, 2025. Today's show is going to be NXT centric, right? We're really going to focus on NXT of all things. Why? Two big reasons. Number one, I was able to catch the show last night, which is not always the case, at least not in totality and especially not live. But I was able to. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. I did some notes, my due diligence, and I'm going to tell you guys what I liked, what I thought was good on this show, and what was befuddling, not good. And unfortunately, there was a lot of that last night. We'll talk about it. And the big story, of course, Corey Graves. It looks like he has one foot out the door of WWE somehow. The latest word we got is after he said he was going to be on NXT and he was going to have a lot to say, a report came out an hour later that he was seen leaving Orlando's airport and taking off. And sure enough, he was not on last night's show. So if you don't know what's going on with Corey Graves and you're wondering why that would have anything to do with NXT and why that's going to be a big focal point of today's Amped Up, it's because the last time you saw Corey Graves, he was DOS booted to NXT's commentary team. And you can say all you want, that's not a demotion, it's this. Yes, it is. Guys, stop. Come on, man. It's the brand that gets 600,000 to 700,000 on a good week, right? That's half of a Monday Night Raw and now half of a SmackDown. And Hunter himself still calls it the developmental brand. So no matter which way you dice it, it's absolutely a demotion. Right? I mean, if Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler were in their prime and one of them got sent to NXT, of course that's a demotion. So that's the last we heard is he took off. Now, everybody kind of wants to simplify the story. And if you don't know what we're talking about, this is just a cold open teaser. I'll go over everything. I'll go over his exact quotes because he left off two statements and it does not sound like he's happy at all with Michael Cole, Hunter Helmsley, and WWE. But we'll go over it. But in this cold open teaser, just to broaden it out, a lot of people just want to label it's a work or he's just ungrateful. That's it. Can only be one or two things. It's either a work and he's working everybody and it's going to be a good storyline. He's coming back to wrestling, BC. He's going to start in NXT. Maybe he'll have a match with Pat Mack at WrestleMania 41 in Vegas. So it's a work, BC. Or he's just ungrateful, I'm hearing, right? He should just be happy he has a job. That none of that even matters. It's about how the company treats its talents, whether it's a Vincent Kennedy or a Hunter Helmsley, straight down to a Michael Cole. And taking I'm just going to leave it at that. Because if I keep going, we're just going to get into the conversation, and that defeats the purpose of a cold open teaser. That's it. That's all I'm giving you. I have a lot to say about this. So much that while I was doing the preparation, I downed all my coffee. So I don't have a coffee with me right now. I was so excited and amped up to get into this discussion. I drank it all. So we'll cut this upload. We'll do this Amped Up. And then I'll hit the road and I'll double fist a Starbucks, maybe a double shot pistachio latte, and maybe a extra Dunkin'. I'll be sufficient enough in the coffee area, don't worry. But I downed one, so I'm fully amped up. We'll see how amped up I need to be in this conversation, because it does have me a little frustrated that this is still how they view their own talents. And if you don't have a big enough name, or if you're not a big enough superstar outside of wrestling, you're just not good enough. I understand business. I understand attracting new audiences. I also break down the numbers. And guys, whether you like it or not, Pat Mack is not bringing in that big of a new audience. If any, the numbers are telling you nobody. Unfortunately, I got much respect for Pat Mack. I actually have him on in the background. If you hear any background chatter, it's actually the Pat Mack show on one of the screens that I have in the background. So trust me, big supporter of Pat Mack. But to totally disregard somebody's work, we'll tell you exactly what WWE told Corey Graves, because he told us. He not only voiced his frustration, he tells you what I'm assuming it was Michael Cole, because he has full jurisdiction over all commentators. He's the boss. Before you even get to Hunter, it's Michael Cole. So I'm guessing this came from Michael Cole, what he told Corey Graves. And it's dumbfounding. We'll talk about it. It's all coming up in this Amped Up. Again, and if it's a work, then awesome. The words that I'm still going to speak would still remain true, even in a hypothetical world. So no matter what, we're going to talk about it, hypothetical or actual. But there's no reason that he would send this out if there was not very real feelings behind it. And we knew from day one he was upset every time Pat Mack came back, and Corey always had to be bumped. Most of the time without any knowledge. It was last second. But it's Pat McAfee and he's got a big name. Corey, you're going to have to get Das Boot. Sometimes, if you're lucky, we'll make it a 3-man booth. Just sit there and let Pat do most of the load. Amped Up 115, correct? Yes, 115.25. Starting with the Corey Graves conversation, let's jump right into it. If you don't know the deal, if you're wondering, BC, what's the whole, what are we even talking about? When Pat McAfee came back for this whole Netflix premiere of Monday Night Raw, it shook everything up. They decided, I'm even confused at this point. It's like when The Rock comes back and everything has to revolve around him and everything gets changed up and switched up. It's kind of that way for commentary. Like whenever they can get Pat McAfee, everything and everybody gets moved to the wayside. Because we have to accommodate, because it's Pat McAfee. He's a big name in the sports world. And he is. Absolutely. So everything gets switched up to the point where even BC doesn't know who's where anymore. I watched a little bit of NXT last week, or did I catch all of it? I think I did a review. So caught most of NXT, if not all. And I forgot or didn't even know that Corey Graves was on commentary, guys. It just totally, that's how miserable he was, how much he did not say, or how much input that he just kept to himself because he just wasn't feeling it. Didn't even know the dude was on commentary. And as far as SmackDown and Raw, Michael Cole is just flipping every other week, it seems. But I believe Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore are on SmackDown now. And now it is Michael Cole, Pat McAfee, Monday Night Raw, I believe. So that leaves Corey Graves as the odd man out. They're keeping Wade Barrett with the Tessitore. Probably don't want to mess up Joe's groove right now. He's still new. He's got this chemistry with Wade. Maybe they don't want to mess it up. Possibly. So no matter what, though, and then you have Pat Mack back on Raw. Michael Cole wants to be with his little buddy, right? They're like little school children. You get them together, they're giggling live on air every Monday night. To a point, it's fun, right? Oh yeah, it makes it fun, right? It's loose. It's a loose commentary team. They're giggling and having fun, and then they do it so much it's kind of annoying. They're making a farce of what we're watching. It's like it's a joke to them. And that's when it gets too much. Pat McAfee admits many times, right? Like I said, I got the Pat Mack show on in the background. I see it. I hear it all the time. Pat McAfee admits many times he just doesn't watch the product faithfully. He shows up early before the shows, and Michael Cole fills him in on everything, and that's why you get the commentary you get. He doesn't follow the product. He's a fan, just doesn't follow it. He's a busy dude, I get it. But he doesn't follow it. So then you have Michael Cole, who he's been checked out for a couple of years now. You guys know that. He's collecting the paychecks now. This guy is so checked out. He's seen it all. He knows the most, everything he's viewing is so befuddling. And him and Pat together, most of this is a joke every Monday night now. They're just laughing at all of it. Nothing can really be taken serious. So Cole is with his buddy over there. Joe is keeping the chemistry with Wade. Corey's the odd man out. That's what actually happened. That's not a storyline or anything like that. Guys, that's what happened. So you see Corey last week. You go back and you check it out. Because again, I didn't even know the dude was on commentary when it was all said and done. I had to go back and do my homework, my research. Dude was miserable. Dude did not look happy. Dude was frustrated. And we know in the past, he was not happy every time Pat Mack would come back and he would seemingly be booted or just the third wheel or the odd man out because he doesn't have Pat's name. And after a while, guys, it's not one or two times. It happens all the time. And after a while, it gets old because Corey's putting in all this work. Whether you like Corey or not, that's your prerogative. I get it. Some of the times I think the dude is just incredible. And then there's other times you'd like to throw him through a brick wall. I get it. But you can't argue the fact that he doesn't put in all the work. And he's not good at what he does because he is. You may not like it. Doesn't mean he's not good at it. And every time Pat comes back, he's just brushed to the wayside. After a while, guys, if you have a job and you keep going to it, but you're not the boss's favorite or you don't have as much stroke as this one individual, but you know you're the one who's always showing up, you're always doing the work, but this dude's always getting the limelight and the credit because he has pull, he has stroke, he's got seniority maybe, he's more well-liked, more well-known. So you're doing all this work, you're setting it all up for this dude to walk in and just get all the spotlight. Because he might be bringing more people to the business. But then you break down the numbers and it's like, is he though? Because the numbers are not saying that. But after a while is what I'm saying. You would get frustrated in your position at your work. Well, Corey started to get that way. We saw that. You could look in his face, man, when he had to do a 3-man with Pat Mack. And it was just like, come on. What are we doing, man? Like every single time Pat Mack is free, we're just going to pull this charade and you're just going to boot me, Das Boot. So it finally reached its breaking point where Corey has been going above and beyond what Michael Cole and Hunter have been asking him, right? With all the transition and Joe coming up and Michael Cole was going to do a lot less recently. Obviously that changed up, but Corey became the front man from color commentary to the lead play-by-play. I thought he did all right for stepping outside of his comfort zone and what he's used to. Every time they needed him to fill a role or a position, he did it. But when Pat comes back, we have no place. You can go to NXT. We can make that a 3-man booth maybe. Of course, you're not going to be happy after a while. And he wasn't. So that leads us to this week. And while Monday Night Raw was live and Pat McAfee and Michael Cole were on the headset, Corey Graves says the following, and I quote, again, this is while Raw was live, guys. Corey Graves said this, imagine chasing your dream, then being told, not deciding, told that you're no longer physically able to pursue your dream. Talking wrestling, of course. Then you dedicate your life to something dream adjacent. Now he's talking commentary. And being pretty fucking awesome at it. And then, when it's time to enjoy the fruits of your labor, being told you're not famous enough for your own job. Just in case you've wondered where I've been. End quote. So you have to believe that was Michael Cole that told him that, right? Could have been Hunter Helmsley. But Michael Cole, for those of you that don't know, he oversees all of the commentators, all the broadcasting. He's like the boss. He has a special title. And you go to him first before you even go to Hunter. So I'm guessing it was Michael Cole. But it could have been Hunter Helmsley. But one of them told Corey Graves he's just not famous enough to keep his job on the main roster. At least not for now. As long as Pat Mack wants to be back, it's Pat Mack's role. Now, a lot of you guys will probably jump into one or two boats here, right? I'll get to the if it's a work thing in a second, right? No matter what, guys, Corey, I don't think would leave WWE, although it is possible. This seems pretty volatile. But no matter what, should he come back, it's very easy that this could turn into a work. That's usually what happens, right? Something starts off very real, a shoot. Sides come together and they kind of make it a work, or at least they talk about it in passing on the headset. You know, Michael Cole make a comment about it or something like that. So there's no question that, or at least there's a very good chance this turns into a work. But I absolutely feel this is 1,000,000,000% Corey Graves frustrated that he always has to get Das booted for Pat McAfee, because that's very real. That's not a work. That's a shoot. That's what's happening, guys. More than 5 times. This dude gets the boot, and most of the time it's last minute. Corey Graves doesn't even know it, what's coming. He just gets told last minute, Pat McAfee, we got him. You got to be taken off. Or we could put up a third chair, but just let Pat do his thing. So I have no doubt this is starting very real. These are very real feelings and frustrations. And whether they want to put this into a story, that's their prerogative. But what doesn't make sense if it's already a work is the fact that Corey said, I have a lot to say tonight on NXT. That was a follow-up, a post that he put out. And I quote, I have a lot to say, or I'll have a lot to say tonight on NXT. So that's where a lot of people are thinking, all right, we're already in work mode, right? Because he's promoting NXT. He's got the fire emoji with the mic drop emoji. I think he hashtagged the NXT. So at that point, the lines are blurred. It's already a work. If it wasn't already, it is now. Many ways you could look at that. He's still very upset. Nobody's returning calls or whatever. And maybe he's just like, you know what? I'm just going to put this out there. I have a lot to say tonight. I'll get them all kind of jumping in their Stamford, Connecticut seats. Corey's going to have a live mic tonight. And so you can look at it that way, right? And he can just say, dude, I'm promoting. What do you want me to do? I put this out. I promoted. You want me to do commentary on NXT? That's where you shoved me. All right. All I'm saying is I got a lot to say tonight. What are you scared of? I love it, right? Could be that. Or he knows how big his first post got. And now he is trying to maybe do some damage control. It's not an actual work right now, or at least not for Hunter's Creative to put this anywhere. But he's trying to ease the tensions a little bit. Possible. But what we know, or at least the last report we got, is an hour after that post, he was seen leaving the Orlando airport. He was leaving. He did not appear on last night's show as he claimed he was going to with a live mic because he has a lot to say, a lot of frustration. He wasn't even on the show. There was no mention of him. So this aspect of could it be a work? Of course. And there's a very good chance it becomes a work if it's not. My point here is no matter what, this is his true frustrations and true feelings because he's already felt this way. We already know that. He has said so much in the past, and you see it every time he's out there and he's got to get Das Boot from Pat. So this is absolutely very real in a shoot. Whether it becomes a story or not, we'll see. But absolutely, you would be upset if you were constantly being overshadowed by somebody who's got seniority or just a bigger name than you, is more well-liked in your company, but you're the one doing all the work. The dude that is more well-liked and well-known, he doesn't even know the day-to-day operations. He doesn't even know the names of all your coworkers. But he shows up, gets the limelight, the big paycheck, and after a while, guys, it gets old. And you start to think, wait, aren't I more valuable than this? I understand business. Talk to me man to man and say, hey, this is the way it is. I know the numbers don't look like Pat's bringing in eyeballs, but the fact that he's even getting WWE into like headlines because it's associated with Pat, you gotta take one for the team again here, Corey. I'm so sorry. Honestly, man, that's how you treat your personnel, your talent. You gotta kind of ease up a lot, right? Understand their frustrations and talk to them more decent. But you don't say you're just not famous enough. What is that? I could see if Corey didn't bust his ass, if Corey absolutely sucked. And again, I know, prerogative. A lot of you guys might just absolutely can't stand Corey's commentary. PC, no, I'm sorry, dude. Love you, but he does suck. That's fine. That's your prerogative. He doesn't, though. He's actually really good, and he can play whatever role Michael needs him to. He can be the one that's kind of siding with the heels, adjacent to like a Bobby Heenan or a Ventura back in the day, right? He can play to that heel side, or if you need him to in a pinch, he could be the play-by-play and call it right down the middle. He's witty, man. When Michael Cole is losing it or flubbing it or just doesn't care, he picks up the ship. I don't even think you guys realize it. But without Corey these last few years, that broadcast table was going to be rougher than it was. While this guy's trying to fucking pull people like Adnan Virk or Jim Smith or Kevin Patrick to a level up to his, neither of them could have been salvaged, but he tried. Corey was given so much to deal with and tasks to complete and people to rise up, and he tried. And through it all, when Michael Cole needed him to be play-by-play, he did it all. But Pat's back, everybody. Pat's back. Sorry, Corey. I mean, I don't understand the ungrateful part. That's a lot that you see. Oh, he's just ungrateful. Dude, you have a nice job at WWE collecting a big check and you get to do commentary and you're looking down at NXT. What are you talking about? NXT is a downgrade. It is. Viewership-wise, will tell you that. Their pay scale, the talent pay scale, will tell you that. The names. What is a Dante Chen? Even a Tozawa would have more name value, right? I mean, if we're doing names, isn't that what Corey got booted for? Pat's got a bigger name. He's more famous. Well, if that's the scorecard that we're playing with, then you got to keep the same energy. In every metric, it's a downgrade. So let's not act like it's not. And what do you mean he wouldn't be frustrated because he's not happy just showing up and collecting a check? Isn't that a good thing? Isn't that what we got upset with Dolph Ziggler and so many others for? Because they started to show up and not even care about how they're being booked. As long as I'm getting a check, I don't care if I sit at catering, you tell me to go home. As long as I'm getting a check, I can work on my comedy, I can work on all my other endeavors. The problem was Dolph Ziggler was too damn good to be just another hand, selling phenomenally, I might add. Selling for everybody else, but never getting the just due that he had earned in that company. Because I will tell you, he has earned it 10 times over. But he never truly got that. Chad Gable, what you saw Monday better be it. Really good match. I understand Penta had to win. That's it. Chad Gable needs a piece of that rocket now. This guy's been there too damn long to get too damn little, or as little as he has gotten so far. Chad Gable's too fucking good. At what point do you say, I'm not here for a paycheck? Hunter, can we have a talk? You're in your profession to excel, are you not? Or maybe you're just happy just showing up and being happy to pick up a paycheck. Corey said, I'm not. I busted my ass to get to a certain level, and here we are 12 years later, and I'm getting DOS booted every other freaking time, or every time that Pat wants to come back. And let's not act like Pat still has the same gusto, man. And again, I'm a supporter. I have Pat on in the background. That shows you I'm a supporter. As I cut this, I'm making sure that they get that ad revenue, they get that viewership number on ESPN. Much love and respect to Pat. But I'll tell you right now, it's nowhere near what it was a year or even 2 years ago. It's not. It's just everybody wants to get on their knees and stroke whatever Pat Mack is whipping out because he's the big thing, right? Or at least was. The Aaron Rodgers interviews and all of that, and he got big, right? And ESPN and everybody that worked at ESPN, they wanted nothing to do with Pat McAfee. You guys remember? He was this shock jock podcaster, right? He's kind of a clown. He's wild. We don't even mention him, but he got so big that eventually all of the ESPN workers and broadcasters and talent, they wanted to work with Pat. They were showing up on his show, and then ESPN actually bought the rights to carry the Pat McAfee show. Oh, how that works, right? Hunter Helmsley and Michael Cole, you know how WWE works. If you're a celebrity, if you have a big name outside of the wrestling world, they want you. They don't care if you're a bunny that's bad, a roll of jelly. They do not care, man. They want you. They will treat you 85 billion% better than their own people, their own talent. We've seen that through Vincent Kennedy and Hunter Hearst Helmsley, even more so. Hunter loves being around the celebs. Loves it. That's why you could absolutely see Logan Paul win the world championship in 2025. You laugh, you say it'll never happen. You have no idea how much Hunter loves Logan Paul. So all of a sudden, Michael Cole is best friends with Pat McAfee. Hunter Helmsley cannot sing the praises of Pat high enough. Where were they when he was just a kicker for the Indianapolis Colts? or when he was starting his podcast, they weren't even giving him a second look. It wasn't until he was this big thing and found out he's a big wrestling fan. Let's do some work with him. Hunter Helmsley, when he was starting to get bigger, right? Brought him into NXT. Was that an Adam Cole match? I think that was an Adam Cole match. So right away, Hunter grabbed him. It's like, what? Yeah, I hear you've been making some waves and making a name for yourself. Man, anytime you want to have a match or anything, come on in. I mean, that's how fast Hunter is. If you are mainstream at all, he will take you. And I'm not even kidding. Him and I think it was Adam Cole. It was when Pat Mack was just starting to get a name. And Hunter found out he was a wrestling fan, and that was it. He was taking a takeover spot. And back then, guys, you only get, well, still today, right? 5 matches tops on a takeover. Yeah, Pat Mack got one of those spots. No kidding. It wasn't that long ago. But a lot of you guys probably remember that. And that kept up. But to act like Pat McAfee is still what it was even a year ago, it's not. The luster, the newness of it has died down. And I'm going to give you guys a hot take, and I don't even care, man. His shtick on Monday nights or when he's on commentary is actually getting old. It's actually getting old. It's almost like the shtick is just go out there and just be ludicrous. Just be Pat. You don't have to know all the wrestlers' names or the storylines or anything like that. Just react to what you're viewing and just be wild. And at first, it's like it's fun, BC, right? He's just reacting like just a fan. And the fact that he doesn't watch every show is even better. It's like, whoa, you're just getting this natural reaction, BC. I can understand that to a point, to like a low point. And then you come to a point where it's taking away from the show, the giggling and the absurdity, and you're not even showing respect to the wrestlers at this point. Because you're just going into business for yourself. What ludicrous, wild thing can I say for a soundbite? And it takes over what the wrestlers are doing. I can't tell you guys how many times within the past year itself that there's been a women's match and Michael Cole and Pat McAfee go into a shtick of their own. They start giggling because they're checked out. They don't care about it. And they start giggling, and it's so disrespectful. It's not just the ladies, by the way. Some dudes' matches that are either rematches or just really boring. And they'll just start giggling, and you feel so bad for the talents. Just recently, Penta just debuted. Penta speaks in Spanish to the San Jose audience, more than just the TV audience, right? He's speaking to the house. And the first thing McAfee says is, I didn't understand half of what he was saying, but it sure sounded majestic. And we giggle, right? Oh, Pat's so funny. That just took away a lot of steam that Penta just had. That was emotion. Sure, I didn't understand half of it either. But I was enjoying the amplification, the passion of this guy. And, you know, he's speaking to the house, really, San Jose. So it doesn't matter if we understood that part. What he was speaking in English was actually pretty damn good. He did pretty damn good in English, by the way. I'll say that just like I said in the review. So Penta could have kept going. But he's in the moment at San Jose. The first thing shouldn't be, I don't know what this dude said, but cool story, bro. That's basically what he said. I didn't understand half of what he said, but it sounded majestic. And then everyone giggles at home. He just said, because Penta, you couldn't understand Penta. Come on, the guy just debuted, man. My point is, it just gets old. The Pat McAfee shows up, and he gets to be the clueless guy, right? I don't know what's going on. Fill me in. I'll just be Pat McAfee. I'll be wild, and I'll say ludicrous shit. One big son of a bitch, right? Isn't that what he says when Braun comes out and we all giggle? Pat did it. Do it, Pat. Ready? And when Pat's not there, Michael Cole has to try to be Pat McAfee, right? I'm going to try to tap into my Pat McAfee. He's one big son of a bitch. Are we still laughing at that? Is that a cool thing? I guess what I'm saying, not a roundabout way, directly. Hot take, I don't care. I'm over the Pat McAfee thing. I am. It's cool. If you want to come over and do broadcast once in a while, cool. Absolutely. But I'm not seeing value anymore. A business side, I get it. Maybe you'll get a headline. Viewership is not adding. Guys, it's not. Pat McAfee did not add viewers. He didn't. Nobody's going, I gotta watch Raw. Pat McAfee's on commentary. Who's doing that? The numbers are telling you nobody. But maybe you have like an, Uncle Danielson fucking watched because of Pat. BC, that's not true. Uncle Danielson said he now listens because of Pat McAfee. Maybe. But numbers otherwise are showing you that nobody cares. So now I want the wrestlers to get the respect that they deserve when they're doing their thing. And what I want is a commentary team that doesn't make everything a damn joke or a soundbite. Say what you want about Corey. Maybe you don't even like the dude on commentary, but he makes it serious and real. He takes his job serious, and he knows what it's like to be in that ring, so he makes damn sure that he's not making them look like fools. So yeah, I don't agree with Corey Graves on everything. I don't have to agree with him on everything. I don't have to like everything that he says on commentary or behind the scenes or on a podcast or whatever. But if you guys don't see the frustration or why it would be valid, I don't know what, I mean, you wouldn't be upset at your job. You would just say, no, I totally understand BZ. I mean, the guy's got bigger name recognition. It's business. I just got to do what my boss says and, I'm getting the paychecks. And you know what? When that guy leaves, I'll be back in my position, BC. Well, if that's how you want to keep being treated, that's on you. Honestly, that's your prerogative. Much love and respect. Salute. There's some of us that will never deal with that. No. Our moral standards, everything bar is higher than that for ourselves. All the work that we put in the equity, no, absolutely. Treat me a little better than just saying, well, sorry, dude, you're not famous enough. You could try to get a seat at NXT's table. You know who Vic Joseph? Yeah, go down there. Listen, when Pat's out, maybe we'll bring you back. In fact, you know what? We will. Wait 5 or 6 months. You wouldn't be upset? Now, again, BC, what if this is all just a work? Well, every one of my words I would still hold in a hypothetical sense because all my words still remain true for the scenario and the situation given. But my take on this, what I feel is that this is absolutely still Corey Graves' position because it was when Pat first started coming back nonstop. And everything had to revolve around Pat McAfee because he's the famous guy. He's the guy with the big name and bigger business. So Corey was already showing that frustration. So absolutely, you see this guy getting bumped to NXT. That's pretty degrading and a downgrade. But if they want to turn this into a story, which is only natural, fuck yeah. But only if like Corey Graves is getting back in the ring, could this be a story, right? And this isn't for Corey to manage anybody. So there'd be no reason for this to be a storyline unless he's getting back in the ring. Maybe they're going to try to do a commentator versus commentator match. Pat McAfee versus Corey Graves. That could be interesting. But that doesn't get away from the fact that Corey Graves more than likely is still very frustrated that he's constantly getting bumped and booted for McAfee. That part is not a work. That's not a storyline because he's been pissed off at that. That's what I hope you guys understand. If it becomes a work, that's another story. But up front, just know Corey Graves is not happy with this setup and situation. He hasn't been every time. So it's just funny when everyone's just like, it's a work. Everyone's going to find that out. Well, yeah, it absolutely could become a work. Doesn't mean you were right all along. Doesn't mean Corey wasn't pissed. And the fact that he got sent to, he took off from Orlando and left that airport, didn't look back. When he was advertising himself to show up and not even mentioned, they didn't even try to extend a storyline. So we could just be getting just raw emotion right now. Maybe it hasn't even turned into that storyline, if it even is gonna. But BC will tell you, man, whether you like Corey or not, this is absolutely, the dude was done dirty. Just was. He was done absolutely filthy because it happens all the time. If this was 1 or 2 times, cool. It's Pat McAfee. He's the headline guy. He's the big thing in the sports world. Corey, take one for the team. After 5 or 6 times, especially all that he's been doing when Michael Cole had to step away and he was the play-by-play guy and doing all of this extra stuff. That's why he says when you're finally reaching the fruits of your labor, you think, and then you get told you're not famous enough, go to NXT. You wouldn't be upset. Maybe you wouldn't. Again, maybe you're just happy to be there. You're happy to have a headset on and collecting that WWE money. But there's a lot of people that are not a Dolph Ziggler. They want more. They really feel like they earned more. So it's not about defending Corey Graves or anything like that. I would say that for anybody that I have seen bust their ass and constantly just be looked over. Just because, Pat's back. We get upset at the same thing when Rock comes back, right? Because everything now has to be switched up and revolve around The Rock. It's not the right way to do business. Rock Roman was the match last year, absolutely. But you can't do this every year and every time you come back because you're indecisive. And now the whole company is basically held hostage until Rock makes up his mind. Or if we know that Pat McAfee's coming back. Corey shouldn't have to walk on eggshells not knowing what team he's going to be on because he never knows when Pat's going to come back. That's just the amplified truth. Whether we like it or not, whether we agree or not, doesn't take away from the factual part of it. The factual part of it is it's not right in any job, no matter who has a higher name recognition. After a while, you have to start treating the talent that is busting your ass day in and day out better. That's the point. I get business. I get a bigger name and a more spotlighted name. I get it. But after a while, you eventually have to look at the guy who's busting their ass for you every day. The person that's actually with your company every day. And you have to say, no, dude, we're giving you the ball. Brett Favre wanted to keep coming back. Did you guys know that? He played 2 more years after the Packers. For 3 years, Aaron Rodgers had to pretty much sit on that bench. Because Brett kept saying, I'm going to retire. No, I'm coming back. And he wanted to come back again until finally the Packers said, dude, we know you're the name. We know you're the guy. And Aaron Rodgers is a nobody. Nobody even wants his autograph right now. But you know what? We're going Aaron Rodgers. The guy's putting in all the work while you're sitting home deciding if you even want to come back. Aaron Rodgers was the guy. Nowadays is different because Rodgers is the star. He doesn't have to go up to the mini camps. He's the big shot now. But Packers moved on because they knew it was the right thing. Brett had the name value. Brett was going to bring in more asses to seats. Sorry, Brett. And when Rodgers became the big fish and he kept being undecided, right? Same thing Brett was doing. I don't know. I'm going to come back. Jordan Love sat there for a couple, 2-3 years until finally the Packers said, dude, we got to hardball you here because we want to go Jordan. We'll take you back, but we have to know what's going on or else that's it. We're going Jordan. We know he's untested. He's not going to bring as many asses to seats like you will. You're polarizing. It's the almighty Aaron Rodgers. But the Packers wanted to move on. It's the right thing to do. Jordan was putting in the work. Jordan was showing up every single day. And that's what they did. I'm just using that as an example. Eventually, you got to sacrifice that name recognition and value and maybe a couple of tickets. And do the right thing with the people that are under your umbrella and doing it all for you and your company. That's the amplified discussion. So that's what it's really about, man. Just doing the right thing. Again, if this was a couple of times, guys, I get it. It's Pat McAfee. It's Pat Mac. I get it. Sorry, Corey. You have to have Pat. Right? And there's ways to tell Corey, right? You want to have a nice sit down, make sure everything's kosher, knows why. But after, again, all of these times, eventually it gets old and the frustration mounts and you're not being talked to cordially. Now, as time goes on and it's 6 or 7 times, now you're just being told you're just not famous enough. I don't want to hear it. Go to NXT. That's all I'm going to say about it. I don't want to talk in circles on it. But again, work, not a work, none of that even matters. Up front, it's being done dirty in any position in any company. You want to treat people better than that. Just being told you're not famous enough. Man. Because he's setting the table for somebody like Mac to show up and do what he does and collect that fat paycheck and not have to know every wrestler or every storyline. Let's keep it going, NXT. Let's talk some NXT. That's all I'm going to say about that. We'll find out, like I said, that's most likely going to turn into a work no matter what. So we'll follow along. Or they just reconcile and Corey just shows up to NXT and like nothing and you never hear about this again. Or they take this and like I said, try to make it a storyline now. Will Pat McAfee want to be involved in something like that if they want to go Corey? Who knows? But to say this was a work from the jump makes no sense at all. Like, literally. Unless Corey's just coming back full time to NXT. But why would you boot him? Why would he be sent home Tuesday before the show? I mean, ignite the story. This was the hottest topic. People are tuning in. And nope, they just didn't want to say a word about it. They made sure they put water on that fire. They cooled it down. And you got to wait another whole week just to see if anything happens. That's not how you would do business. So we'll see, man. But my words would stay true in a hypothetical sense anyway. In any company, no matter who you are, that's not what you want to, that's not how you want to treat your people. All right. NXT 114-25. Show starts off with Oba Femi, new world champion. Eddie Thorpe is involved in this angle, and Tony D. Tony D causes a distraction, and I believe Thorpe attacks, right? I had to do some side business for this one segment, the opening segment. So I missed some of it, and then I had to do some side business. But the gist of it is like Eddie Thorpe and Oba are having a match next week for that title. Because of the opening segment and then backstage, Oba was demanding to Ava he wants Thorpe. Ava didn't want to reward Thorpe for being a coward, basically, and always kind of backing into a title match or what Thorpe wants. So Ava was like, no, I want to put an end to that. I'm not giving Thorpe what he wants. So Oba was like, no, it's what I want. I'm world champ. I want. I think he took, like, who was it? Robert Stone, picked him up, checked him against the wall off his feet, and that's when Ava's like, all right. You got your title match next week. So, okay, Eddie Thorpe and Oba Femi. That was all set up from that first segment. Then you go into some of the questionable decisions, right? Shotzi defeats Stephanie Vicure. Steph is defeated by Shotzi. You have Stephanie win this big match last week, right? And it's Shawn Michaels' consolation prize. Julia wins the championship over Rok-C, but Stephanie, you're going to have a big match in this. What was it? A Fatal 4 last week, I believe. So she gets this big W, and then the very next week you have her in this match with Shotzi, and you have her lose looking up at the lights. Why, man? Why 50-50 book somebody like Stephanie? It's going to split your audience into thinking, even if subconsciously, she's a winner or she's not. I get that Shotzi just got back, so she could really use W's as well. So it's just an awkward match to book. But Steph losing straight up, man, that was wild to actually view. So I'm hoping there's a reason, a rhyme and a reason for this. I'm going to give Shawn Michaels the benefit here. We'll see. Hopefully we'll find out within the next 7 days, by next Tuesday, because that was what was cool. This was awesome. They went to a picture-in-picture commercial, right? So you got the commercial on the bigger screen, and up in the corner, you see Stephanie backstage, like looking for, who was it? Because somebody like, who was it? There was a slight interference, right? Even if inadvertently. I forgot what it was, but she was backstage, like just flipping out, guys. She's coming across referees and other talents, and they're following her through the backstage area as the commercials are playing. I'm like, dude, I've never been this captivated by commercials. Of course, I'm not even watching or paying attention to the commercials, but I'm looking at this little screen. I'm thinking, why don't they do this more with the actual shows? I would much rather on Monday Night Raw watching one individual, one talent walk through the backstage area and all these rooms and the locker rooms and maybe the parking. I would follow that individual for 10 to 15 minutes, a whole segment, more than a random rematch or some stupid, silly back and forth promo with no substance between two individuals. Just give me an individual looking for another individual for 15 minutes. That's captivating television. And that's what we were getting during this commercial. Stephanie goes into the makeup room. I think she found like Cora, what was her name? Jade, not Cora Jade. What is her name? JC Jane. I think she found JC Jane like getting makeup and like just picked her up and chucked her to the ground, to the floor. I mean, she was pissed. The whole commercial break, you're following her whole thing. She comes across Ethan Page. Ethan is like, hold up, relax. And then the camera picks up Ethan going to the ring. I thought that was just very well done by Shawn Michaels and his team. That was very, very well done. Simple. So even though Stephanie lost that, man, that kind of made up for it, man. Stephanie is a badass, and she was ready to take everybody out. Like I said, Ethan Page would come to the ring next. Ethan Page completely squashes Dante Chen, like squash match. 90 seconds maybe, completely squashes Dante, and then post-match shatters Dante Chen's ankle between the steel steps, shatters Dante's ankle. This would bring out Javon Evans. This was so well done. Javon just starts street punching, bro. Like you would just like where was that during the Damian Priest Finn Balor street fight on Monday night? They weren't in a street. There was no street. They were using kendo sticks and who knows what. Who uses that in a street fight? Javon came out swinging, man. I think a couple connected to where Paige just had to go like this, like it was a boxing fight. Paige takes a step back and swings and connects with a right hand, knocks out Javon Evans. It looked like a little bit of a street fight. Or, I don't know, at least some boxing, man. But they were swinging. And the way Ethan had to step back but swing to try to connect, and he got Evans. Evans was the aggressor, but he got caught off guard with one good shot, and he fell, and it was the knockout punch. So it just felt like a real fight. It was so well done, and I got to give both dudes, it takes two to tango, but I got to give Javon Evans even more credit for going out there and making it as real from the jump like he did. That was just so well done, man, and Ethan catches him off guard. So you know Javon Evans ain't gonna let it slide and end like that. That was so well done. Then it's one of those befuddling decisions. Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson defeat Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. Legend, for those keeping score, Legend pins Alba. Can you imagine what Alba and Isla must be thinking? You get this call up many moons ago. You go to the main roster. You win these titles because it's Scotland. You get booked into obscurity even with the titles. You get no time of day. Hunter passes you in the hallways, the locker rooms, probably doesn't even know your names. And then you get fucking Das booted back to NXT and you start losing matches even in NXT. It's bad enough you had to go back because they got nothing for you on the main roster. But they have you losing in NXT. I'm just going to leave it at that. Could you imagine Alba and Isla? Wow, that is not what I thought. At least for Alba Fire. For Kylie Ray, I never thought this would be her last 2 years. There was so much promise for Kylie. So much promise for Alba, even with the name change. This was wild. Backstage, Tony D and Ridge Holland. Not just backstage, in the parking lot, guys. Near the street. Where was this? On Monday with Balor and Priest. Holland and... who would I say? Tony D. Tony D and Holland are out there just battling. It was Tony D, right? Well, that's what I put in my notes. I could... listen, the camera picked it up with them just brawling, and that's how it ended, right? A quick minute. So I was like, all right, they're just freaking going at it. Man, that was just so well done. I'm like, there you go. It just takes a moment to go outside with your camera and your talent. You have it all blocked off. You have permits anyway when you run these shows, but especially NXT and where they run it. And they especially have the permits at least in the parking lot. You don't even got to go to the street, but at least it feels more like the street. So you're more into what Ridge Holland and Tony D were doing. It's not rocket science. You just have to care. You call it a street fight. You could have put Balor and Priest out there Monday night. Another questionable decision with the ladies is up next. Cora Jade defeats Kalani Jordan. Now you're going to say, well, BC, you're so high on Kalani. That's why you're not happy with this decision. I'm not happy with the decision because it doesn't make sense. Kalani Jordan is exceptional already. She's only been in this game for half a cup of coffee. Not even a full cup. And she's already this good. And much love and respect to Cora Jade. She loves this. She's constantly trying to get better. That's great. You watch a match like this, And you see how Kalani has to kind of dumb it down a lot of that match, has to slow down the pacing, has to dumb it down, has to switch things up because Cora's not hanging with Kalani like Kalani would have hoped or fans would have hoped. If you got a keen eye, if you actually know how to critique pro wrestling, you know that that's a mismatch. Kalani's just that good. And we're hoping one day that maybe Cora can get that good, but a lot of that's natural talent. It's an it factor. Kalani has it. So Cora Jade was having trouble keeping up with Kalani. So that's bad enough. But just the booking of it. Kalani was your North American champion. In the blink of an eye, she's 3 wins out of her last 10 matches. That's a real stat, guys, and that's a concerning stat. 3 W's out of her last 10. With somebody like Kalani, yeah, W's and L's matter a lot more. I don't understand having that match if that's going to be the simple solution. Now, if you say, well, BC, there was a rig to the eyes. Cheater did the cheatery thing. No harm, no foul. Well, that's what we're going to cling to. No question. Right? We're going to hope that that's what the casual fan and everybody's going to be okay with. She got rigged to the eyes. It doesn't step away from the fact that she's lost 7 out of her last 10 matches, and each one of them hasn't been a rig to the eyes. She's just finding every which way to lose most of her matches lately. That's what fans that remember all of this stuff, that don't forget the week before or the week before that, that's what fans are going to remember. If you're easily forgetful or you want to forget the week before and so on, then yeah, this is no harm, no foul. For a lot of us, we're just watching Kalani flat on her back looking up at the lights far too often, way more than she should be. That's a problem. The booking of Kalani is more than questionable. Fraxium retain their championships in a tag bout, and then the final segment is Rok-C cutting a promo on Julia taking her title the week previous. Now, before we got to that segment, the last commercial break was a limo pulling up, like one of those limo SUVs or something, and these kind of like weird boots get out. At first, I'm thinking maybe it is Corey Graves, right? They're initiating the storyline. They're putting in this work already, right? Because Corey used to dress a little weird. So it was like these tight jeans in these like green combat boots, something like that. And we come to find out after break while Rok-C is cutting her promo that it's Bayley. It's Bayley. It's Bayley with the little tight jeans in her boots. All apologies, Corey Graves. You never know. He was a, weird dresser. Still is. But it was Bayley. I'm like, Bayley, what is Bayley doing? Bayley's a SmackDown talent. She shows up on Raw to fight Nia Jax during a Rhea Ripley segment. Think about that, please. Rhea is the only Raw star. And Rhea barely said anything and just watched Nia and Bayley fight each other on Raw. Makes no sense. Why is Bayley on Raw? Because it's Santa. It's my hometown. And then all of a sudden she shows up on SmackDown to start something with Rok-C. How does this benefit Bayley? She's just, you have nothing for her, so you have her just showing up at every show and just getting in everybody's business. I don't know how this is helping Bayley having a Rok-C fight and match in NXT, and how does this help Rok-C? Rok-C is already levels above most. She doesn't need Bayley for a rub. It's weird that that's how you're going to end your 2-hour NXT show, with Bayley and Rok-C, and they botched it, unfortunately. Bayley took so long on the mic, spitting out whatever she's trying to say, that they ran out of time. And if you guys check it, because I know a lot of you guys probably didn't watch the show, but you're listening to BC's review on it, Bayley had to rush the final 2 lines because she was being counted down, right? You have your production assistant on the outside, camera side, that's yelling, 10 seconds. So Bayley is like rushing all her words, whatever she said. And that's Rok-C's cue to slap her real quick. And then instantly Bayley has to take her down. And before Bayley can get a punch in, we're cut off the air. We didn't even get the brawl. So it was a time management issue. But I mean, I don't know how it's Bayley and Rok-C. Maybe on the main roster that makes sense. You could promote that and make a lot of money on that maybe if you put a good story to it. But Bayley just showing up to get in Rok-C's business is so weird. That's it. This went really long. I had a lot to say about the Corey Graves situation. And I was able to catch NXT, so I wanted to give you guys my full throttle. More coffee, PC. Full throttle honesty and amplification on this show, and that's my true feelings on it in real time. That's the notes that I put out in real time, and that's what I'm reciting to you right now because I still feel the same way. So is it amped up? I bet you a lot of people, when I first said in the cold open, it's going to be NXT centric, focusing on NXT. I bet you a lot of people are like, I don't really watch NXT, BC. But that's probably one of the best hours of amped up we've had, man. A lot to say, a lot to go over. Guys, until next time, there will be that next time. 44 Dive, BC in the unit saying, check you. Salute.